Hey guys, how's it going? It's Chris here, author of the Vengeance series at VengeanceBooks.com, and I wanted to do a quick little writing update for you guys. I am past the 100 page mark, which feels great, even though, man, just the first 100 pages has taken me months to get through. This is by far the slowest, the longest I've ever taken to go through the second editing phase. I mean, honestly, probably in each phase so far, this has been the slowest, most arduous, most just exhaustive. Maybe not quite as exhaustive yet. I've definitely had the most amount of hiccups while recording this. While writing this book. I will say I'm very, very, very glad I went through and I'm very, very, very glad I went through and wrote the omnibus book. Omnibus? Yeah, I'm very glad I went through and wrote that book first, because that let me contextualize a lot. That I will be at 200 pages right now into this book, and I don't want that. And to be at 200 pages and to only be where I am currently right now at 100 pages, if they were the same book, would be a nightmare to read, for sure. I guess it would be a nightmare, but it would just be like, it's just a lot. It would be a lot to take in and to deal with, and to be 200 pages and be like, Jesus Christ, didn't realize I was reading The Lord of the Rings. So, but yeah, I'm happy with where I am right now. I think I'm at like 120 pages. Which obviously will change based around formatting and stuff like that when I get there. But I'm at the point, it seems like every single time and I keep repeating this in videos, but it seems like every time I get to the point where it's like, all right, that section's done. Time to move on to something a little bit easier, a little bit more straightforward. No. You sweet summer child. No, you fucked yourself. You're diving headfirst into a pool of fucking lava. And there's caltrops in that lava. And they explode when you touch them. That's what you're doing to yourself right now. Because not only do I have like 5 other books worth of lore to keep track of, I'm also fleshing out basically an entire other world adjacent to Earth. Because we get a little bit out there. Book 1 obviously starts very grounded. It's low fantasy, and it's mundane school life, and eventually we get to some magic, supernatural stuff that still stays within a pretty easy to understand realm of not possibility but like believability. Like it stays like on theme with what we're at. It's very like dark, supernatural, low fantasy, macabre kind of stuff. And as the series goes, we still maintain that, but we lean a lot more into that magic stuff because that becomes like the prominent setting of what's going on. But we're still in like Earth, this world, things are pretty expected, thematically and environmentally and socially. But this book, we get to go and like it makes sense, right, where I'm at, because the way that it is like, basically, to like give like a quick little rundown just is where I am without getting too heavy in the spoilers. This world in the book series, in the books that we're in, the world that we're in, the dimension, the reality, is the second one, because the first one was undone and demolished and recycled by a great cataclysm as like a last-ditch effort to prevent an overwhelming evil from consuming everything. And so this world is essentially built on top of the old one in a metaphysical way. So our world exists as it is, with intelligence, humanity, and technology. Whereas the world underneath it, aptly called, colloquially called Underworld, except Nair, any apostrophe JR is its actual name, exists in a quasi-medieval state because the beings that occupy that are demonic, fiendish, drogue-like entities that were born from the Firth and the corrupted aftermath of whatever was left after the original first Earth got wiped out and demolished, and whatever didn't die and was left to rot in that like obliviated canvas of a plane of existence are not intelligent enough in that way to develop technology in the same way humans did, but that world is still tainted by energies and essentially was harnessed into magic. So it's like it's very medieval and magic driven, but also like but yet so anyways, we are diving into that kind of thing because of an underlying set of characters we've gotten hints at throughout many of the books. They've just been mentioned. These characters known as Umbra have been mentioned a lot of times. We've interacted with them slightly in some ways, and they are in Underworld. They're trapped in Underworld because the gate was shut in the same way that the Nexus gate was shut. Which if you've only read book 1 or haven't read any of it all, you're like, what the fuck is he talking about? Hopefully this entices you a little bit to want to read. But you don't get to this kind of it's not even like it's like more high fantasy, but not like Lord of the Rings high fantasy. It's not like Middle Earth. It's still, I don't know. It's quite a. This is my jump the shark, and I don't know what else to do about it. It makes sense. It makes sense. I guess. I don't know. It's tough. I'm getting a lot of second thoughts with it, but it's too late. There's nothing I can do. I am not rewriting all of this, but it's because like every time I think of something, it's like, oh fuck, I have to like come up with the history for that, because there's like the cult of Rollock and why they exist and how their lineage persists and what kind of influence that has in Underworld as a whole. It's like there's just a lot of pieces that aren't like fully fleshed out, and they don't need to be, but they serve a purpose. And we just like, and it's not all of that. Like that's a segment of this book coming up, but it's the fact that every time I'm like getting closer to that, I think of more things that I need to figure out and find a way to on how to translate it into the story. And it's tough because right now I'm just like, and it's stuff that doesn't even need to be like fully considered. Like, what's the timeline of this? We don't need to know that. We don't need, it's thousands of years after that. Who gives a fuck? It's not important, but I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, I have to include this. You don't have to include it. Chris, look at me. You don't have to include it. You can hint at stuff, and you can have ideas written down somewhere, but you don't need to publish it, man. You don't need to. Don't do that to yourself. I'm going fucking insane dealing with it. So, but we are now getting into the point where I'm going towards reintroducing Umbra as a tangible thing, as opposed to just this like ancillary thing, this subconscious thing, this hinted at thing. Now it's like, all right, now we're getting into Umbra, because they have had an integral. They have played an integral role. I should take speech impediment classes. They have played an integral role in a lot of things in the background that we don't necessarily that we're not even necessarily aware of, but they're very important to how things have shaken up and how we are going towards the idea of a resolution to the current issue. They're important, and they are the antagonists for this story. So I'm getting into that, coming up on it, and it's just a lot. And we're revisiting a lot of old things. We're touching on, like, it's one of those things where like I got a little bit emotional too, because like I sometimes get emotional while writing a scene, because I'm I'm picturing the scene as it's playing out before me in my head, and I get emotional because it's like, dog, I started writing this in 2012, and it's like, while this character is looking back on other characters from the shadows and seeing where these characters are, I'm also doing that, and it's like so deeply connected in me that it's just like, it's making my eyes warm right now. So that's it's a challenge to get through. And then you get the imposter syndrome stuff that's coming in and slowing me down. You get the what's it matter because what's it matter because 1, 2, or 3 people might read this, so like, who even cares? And it's like, well, I care. And the fact that I care should still at this point be enough, but it is getting harder and harder to use that as fuel and as passion. That's not to say I'm not passionate towards it. I am deeply passionate towards my story. It's just hard to use that passion in a constructive way, in a way that actually helps me progress. But I will say, I'm not going to be all doomist. We're not doing that. I am back at writing at my local library again, which has helped significantly. I've been stifled at home. I'm writing at my desk where I am right now. I spend the majority, if I'm not at work, 70% of my day at home is spent in this office, downstairs in the basement in a metal shed alone, away from everybody. The other 30% is spent, discounting sleeping, is spent like sitting with the bunnies or watching something in the living room, or working on some other random project. But so to spend all the time down here at the desk, either just playing a game casually with YouTube on, recording videos for YouTube, editing videos for YouTube, drawing for the book series, or writing is all spent right here. So while writing, I get so distracted because it's like, this is not just my workspace, it's my fun space, it's my relaxed space, it's my lounge space, which is synonymous to relaxed space. It's all of those things. So it's hard for me to disconnect from those other hobbies and just focus on writing, which has always been the challenge. So I go to the library to get away from that. The problem is my laptop has days where it's just, I've explained this in a video before, where Microsoft Word is just like, you don't have a subscription to us, I don't know what to tell you. And I have to fight with Microsoft Word for like 25 minutes just to make it so I can actually start writing, because it's like, I have to convince, I have to show him my driver's license and be like, look, this is me. I have this license. You were signed in last night. What are you doing? Get me out of view mode. Let me go to edit mode. And so then sometimes it does that. Sometimes my laptop just says, you're only getting 1 gigabyte of RAM today. That's just how it goes. And I'm like, no, I can't write with 1 gigabyte of RAM. Microsoft Word eats RAM for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh, so it's a fight with the laptop for those 2 reasons. And lately, my wireless mouse has been just saying like, you're not moving me. Little old me, nah, you're doing this, I'm not going anywhere. And it just doesn't register that my mouse is working, which is not a battery issue. It's just my laptop decides out of the 2 fucking USB 3 ports that it has that they will only maybe work, if you're lucky. So fighting with my laptop is always a thing. It's been good to me lately. It's been working okay, but it's still a thing. And then on top of that, it's the whole like, it technically costs me money because I'm driving, so it's wasting gas and it's going in the opposite direction that I usually go in for like all my other activities like work and everything else. So it's like around 10 minutes away, and that's just 10 minutes. I hate 10 extra minutes in the car. Excuse me, I burped a little bit. I'm drinking a 0 sugar A&W root beer. So, but the library has helped me so much. Again, I can focus better. The only distraction that the library has for me is Pokemon Go, because there is a gym and like 4 Pokestops. So in between every like 5 minutes of writing, I take 1 minute on Pokemon Go just to spin my stops and check to see if there are any cool little guys around me. And then every day the gym spawns a raid, so I check to see if it's a raid I can do by myself, and 50-50 it is and it isn't. So that's good. I get to keep my items restocked. So but I'm booking my library time, and now I go, out of the 5 days a week that I write, I go to the library. So far, like at least 3 of those days I'm going to the library. I've been consistent with it. And I usually go for longer, and I write for the same amount of time, maybe 20 minutes longer, but I'm actually writing for pretty much the whole time, as opposed to constantly taking breaks or distracting myself here. Because like for the hour and a half that I write at home, I get maybe 50 minutes to an hour of actually writing, and a lot of it is wasted time of me just walking away. So at the library, I'm there writing for an hour and 45 minutes, and I'm probably an hour and 30 to an hour 35 of that is spent actually writing or pontificating, going through my notes. So it's good. It's been good. Been very useful. And I think I have only one real hang up right now, which is for a certain set of characters to be revealed as false now or not at all. And that's what I'm really trying to figure out, because that has huge implications for what, for just like the background story. Whether or not a society recognizes certain characters as legitimate or not is a big hang up for me. So I'll figure that out when I get there. I need to see what I wrote, and maybe I've already figured it out, because a lot of times I'm thinking about notes and I'm considering a lot of things, like, oh shit, I need to do this, and I start writing new notes, and then I get there in the document and I'm like, oh, I figured this out like 8 months ago apparently. Okay, we're good. That's happened like 3 times already. Yeah, which is really awesome, because I stressed out so hard about it just to realize it was a non-issue. But the fact that I thought about it even deeper and I came to basically the same conclusion is excellent and worrisome, because apparently I just completely forgot that I already did this and I am doing it again. So, but I already figured it out. So I don't know. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of anything else to mention. I think I'm projecting the page count to be probably 400 to 450 pages at this point. Something like that. And an estimated word count, I'm going to guess, is going to be around 150 to 200,000 words, somewhere between there. I think it's going to be as dense as book 1. More dense in some ways, less dense in others, but I think it's going to be as dense as book 1. I think, is book 1 the most dense? Because it has so much character, it has so much introduction, it has so much setup, it has a lot of lore being poured into it, and a lot of just establishing stuff. But then Devil to the Damned has a lot of just lore, and a lot of like, I don't know, I think book 1's still the most, I mean, by page count and word count, it's the most dense. But I mean most dense of just like everything encompassed into the story. I need to shave, dude. My facial hair is too long. I'm just looking at myself in the selfie cam, so. Anyway, I think that's about it. Been rambling for way too long. It's been 20 minutes. I needed something to keep me occupied, because I just started sitting here. I ran out of things to do. I got up early today, and I've already done a lot today, so I was just kind of killing time until 11 o'clock, so I could go do my end of night routine, sit with the bunnies, and then get myself in bed like an old ass man. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and go to vengeancebooks.com. Bye-bye.
Ooh.